Here we are. We are live, Alan. We are live. Chat, bear with us, but I just want to say welcome to our first ever major. This is our first ever podcast, I should say, covering the major. We've obviously been doing the qualifier matches and whatnot, but welcome if you guys are new. This is an episode of First Blood, or I think this is our 10th episode together, Alan. We're going to be covering all of the things Major 1. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. We got some interesting matchups today, and we got a lot of fun in for a fun weekend, man. We're expecting a FaZe Optic, potentially another little finals. We're going to maybe see them early on in Major 2. So
do we have spicy takes as far as the grand finals? You know what? We'll have to tune in to find out.
We will see. But how you doing, Alan, man? Are you excited for the weekend? We got a weekend full of COD, man. It's always a fun time.
Oh, it's just a weekend jam-packed full of COD, man. It's going to have challengers going on. I'm pumped about that, obviously. Big challengers fan. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Big fan of, obviously, seeing COD happen on LAN. I think we're going to get some real... I don't know, man. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I do not have Optic in Atlanta in my grand finals prediction, so... tune in to see who I've got. I don't know. I actually don't know who I've got yet. I'm kidding. I know who I've got, but
okay.
I'm all over the place today, Jerry.
Okay, you're a little quiet. Let me turn you up. Everyone always complains about that. Let me see. Real quick before we get in. I got him blasted, chat. He should be good. I saw in the YouTube comments he's kind of quiet, but in my ear he sounds really loud. So I don't know.
Yeah, so it must just be a mixer thing on your side. You're making me feel.
It's probably not you.
Out here.
Is he better, chat? Hopefully he's better before we get into this whole show. I don't want him to be quiet before we're all talking. But yeah, man, we got an exciting weekend ahead. Hopefully audio should be good. But I can't wait, man. It's gonna be fun. Like we were talking about a little before we went live with this show. We got 4 exciting matchups today. I like how they do the schedule. We haven't really talked about that a little bit, but I'm a big fan of it. I know a lot of people in chat were like, "Oh my God, matches are today!" Like they were confused when I was streaming this morning. It's like, yeah. They do the winners bracket matches on Thursday, and then they transfer into losers. So then you have 4 teams eliminated on Friday, and then it kind of transitions things into the rest of the tournament and sets it up nice. So I'm excited, man. Like I was saying, I can't wait. I love tournaments. I'm so happy. We talked in a previous episode about how Challengers LANs are back. This is the first time we've gotten to see it in a long time. It reminds me of the CWL days, right, where we have all the Challengers players fighting it open in the open bracket, then all the pro teams there. It's cool, like all of them. All get to compete on LAN to have that. So talk to me a little bit too. I know you said a little bit off stream, but tell me a little bit about the challenger schedule, where people can watch, everything like that for the weekend, and talk all about it. Because I know people were in the stream asking me, like I said before, we went live with the show, asking if I was going to be streaming it or whatever, how to watch. So tell me about it, baby.
There's been a lot of questions, and look, the information is a little bit hard to find. I totally get it. However, hear me now when I say this. There will be an official broadcast on the Call of Duty Challengers YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/COD Challengers. It does not start, though, until Saturday, where it'll pick up in essentially where the top 16 will be at that point. We'll be starting with the winners quarterfinals. We'll be following through the winners bracket. You'll be able to catch the winners qualifier match. We're trying to get to a spot where we can make sure we're also watching the lower qualifier match as well. And then the final day on Sunday will feature the top 4 on. So you'll be able to get lower semis, lower finals, and grand finals. Possibly. It very well may just be lower finals and grand finals on Sunday. I don't know, and I do not think that this will happen, but I don't know for sure if the grand finals of challengers will be on main stage. I do not believe that is currently the intention. So that'll all be happening simultaneously, which means you're going to want to have 2 tabs open if you want to watch challengers. Get one monitor going for the main, get the other monitor going for challengers. They will be running simultaneously. Okay. That's all you have to know. Boom, bang, right there.
Wait, so just to clarify, there's nothing tomorrow. Nothing today, only Saturday.
Nothing today or tomorrow for broadcast. The tournament does start before the broadcast starts, obviously. 96 teams, you're gonna need to start, obviously, before Saturday. So.
And the 96 bracket starts tomorrow, and then they'll just show basically the final 16 teams play out the tournament.
As far as I understand, yeah, it starts tomorrow. We'll hopefully be in a good spot through the day tomorrow, because if something were to go wrong, then obviously it's going to be a long day tomorrow. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure it starts tomorrow, though. I don't think it starts today.
Okay, got it, got it. Cool. Well, make sure you guys tune in to challengers. Obviously, there is going to be the major two. Obviously, the pro teams battling it out. But like Alan said, pull up 2 tabs, man. Stay tuned whenever there's commercial breaks and whatnot. Check out the challenger scene. I definitely think it's going to be a fun tournament to watch. And we got some fan favorites in the Texas Nation scene. If they can go for what is it, a 9-peat now? If they can continue their dominance on land. So I'm definitely curious. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch from the outside looking in. Like. There's we were just talking about it, the Toronto Ultra Academy team. I saw that they took them to a second best of 5. They really should have won the series from my understanding. They're in winners bracket and got 1v2 to 1v3'd by Jordan General. So we were just talking about too if Bance couldn't be there. From my understanding, I think Bance is going to be able to play. So it looks like Toronto Ultra Academy will get to play with their roster. So that's good. The challengers, man, it's going to be fun. Like I was saying when Havoc was on, there's always upsets in challengers and in a big bracket like that. Whenever you expect something to go perfectly, it never does. It's just how it goes. And let me tell you, if there's one place for upsets and crazy things to happen, it would be in the challengers open bracket in an early round matchup where someone ends up losing, choking a best of 3 or best of 5. I don't know exactly what the bracket is. But then they end up, it's just how it always unfolds. It never goes perfectly. You never see the best teams end up at the last, and then they have to play, like let's just say Texas Nation and Toronto Ultra Academy end up playing early on in the losers bracket or something crazy, and then one of the teams is out early and it's not expected. So it's going to be a fun time. You guys should definitely check it out. A lot of competition, and I kind of want to transition this talking point into what I was saying earlier, Alan. It's like there is going to be so many eyes on challengers, and like, yeah, I see everyone in the chat saying go Stallions. There's going to be so many eyes on challengers, because after this event, there's going to be more changes than ever before, I think. And that wants to lead me into what we were talking about a little bit about just how there's so many teams right now kind of on the hot seat where if they don't perform and do well, they are at a very serious talking point of roster changes. And we can kind of transition into that, Ryan. I see you trying to hack my PC right now, so I'm going to let you do that. Hang on.
Also, for you guys out there, challengers wise, the bracket, I'll post in chat here one more time. The bracket is subject to change. The seedings is currently not correct, but that will still be the link where you can follow along with the bracket. So keep your eye there.
All right. Sorry, Ryan, I think you're good now. We got our producer join us real quick, guys. Let me switch. All right, we're good now. But anyways, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about it. Real fast, like I said before, Alan, I want to talk about just kind of the teams in the hot seat, the teams in a position right now in this tournament where this is do or die time for them. They've had a rough stage 2 qualifiers. We're getting to the point of the middle of the league, and I want to know after this major, there's not going to be a lot of CDL like stuff to follow. It's going to be a little break period for these teams and these rosters. From my understanding, we basically have like a month off. So the reason I think it's going to be one of the craziest roster period times is simply from that reason alone. These teams it can go out and make changes, do a bunch of crazy things, test the waters, and see if it pays off, see if it'll work early on. And they have a lot of time to kind of iron out the kinks, I guess, if they were to make a roster change. So, Alan, I'm going to put you right here in the hot seat. Talk to me about a few of these teams that you think if they were to struggle or not show up this weekend, you would see potential changes. Because I have 4 in my head, I think. I got 4. I think that if stuff goes wrong, they will not, like they'll definitely be talking trades or roster changes for sure from challengers.
No, that's fair. I will also just mention before we really dig into the conversation of this, think about also the very difficult spot that teams could be in when it comes to pickups, because you figure that you're going to want to pull. If you are going to make a change, you're going to want to pull immediately after the major. So you have this full month to work on your chem before you get to stage 3. However, you're probably going to want to pull from the top 4 teams that place this weekend in some regard. And I don't know if those top 4 teams will be super willing to make a change from challengers because the Pro-Am still is yet to come. Like the scheduling of this actually makes it super difficult. Like, on both sides, because you have challengers players that are either going to say, oh, I'm going to take my chance at the CDL, and now all of a sudden we just spent a full weekend qualifying 4 teams that are not actually going to be the 4 teams that qualified, or pro teams are going to want to make a change, and those challengers teams are not going to want to make moves yet or be approved to get picked up because they want to play in the Pro-Am first. Like, either way, it's kind of a lose-lose depending on what side of the coin you find yourself on. So I'm really curious, I think, just scheduling wise, how that all works. But I think I'm most interested to see teams in the hot seat. Minnesota's number one, I think, on my list.
Okay.
I think behind that would be a team like Florida. I think that we're starting to see that their 3 ARs are just not going to cut it when it comes to winning a championship in this title. And I still have my eyes on the LA Gorillas as well. I'm not as much so worried about New York or Paris at the moment, because I don't think Paris is going to be willing to make more changes necessarily. And then New York obviously is kind of riding a little bit of an up wave right now. So I think they'll probably ride it out and see what happens through this month off period.
I like it. For me, pretty similar. I think I would throw in Thieves in Seattle though over LAG. Yeah, I think
Thieves is probably a good shout too. Yeah.
The reason I have those two teams in and not LAG is just from the sole fact that LAG was looking good through the online qualifiers. Then they have that incident where they throw Spartan last second, and now they're playing with a fill-in from the tournament. So if I know these guys, I feel like they won't be prone to making changes. I can guarantee that these guys would be going into the Pro-Am and even Major 3 as the same roster, because to be honest, I think they're probably going to be bombing out of this tournament pretty quick, just from the sole fact that I think Spart is a great player, but I think it's just such hard shoes to fill. And what we saw with Pollux in London is like an anomaly. Like you rarely ever see someone come in, win multiple matches with ease, and like not really struggle against the top teams. I think the competition's at an all-time high. So I don't know. For me though, I think those are the 4 teams that I'm really looking at that are on the hot seat, where if you see a team bomb out quick, like these teams need to be, I would assume that they're already in talks. If not, right after this tournament would be like, but I think seriously, this is the first time we're ever going to see a trade is right after this major. I really think that we'll see something along the lines, just because I was saying this yesterday. I feel like a lot of these players are in good positions, like stock wise still as their individual skill. So it's a great time to actually trade. Like a lot of these teams have talented rosters top to bottom, but they just can't iron it out and make it work right now. And I feel like that's a good thing in a way, because your stock is still good. So then trade value is good. Then you can maybe potentially swap around. So I wonder, just throwing this out there, if you see like a 4-way trade, 3-way trade, I would not be surprised, seriously, because I feel like you could have Minnesota, Seattle, Thieves, and potentially like a Florida where you swap around some players and maybe make something crazy happen. It's like, if we see Thieves continue to struggle and they start in losers bracket, they're 0-5 in the major and they bomb out, it's like, okay, do these guys just go back home and like, all right, yeah, let's just switch our roles and this will fix all of our problems? Or do you see a team like them where they have really good players, like I said, top to bottom, 4 talented guys? It's like, do you see them make a change with a team like Minnesota or a team like Seattle? It could get crazy. You never know, like what do you see? What I just now thought of this. What if you see I don't know, like you could see an AR swap up maybe between like Octane, Accuracy, and like Major Maniac. Like there could be, I don't know, there could be some crazy stuff happening. And then like this is also something to talk about too. Like this is the only opportunity I feel like Clay could potentially get into the mix. Like after this major, for any Clayster fans in the chat, if he's not on a team after this tournament, I think it's chalk for him for the entirety of the year. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, he would have to make a go at like playing in Challengers stage 3. Like you would have to try to like that little, I don't know how much of it was serious, but like imagine a world where you get like Clayster, Fellow, Pristini, and maybe like, somebody else that's in the mix that has been kind of on the edge of CDL or was there earlier. And, depending on who gets dropped after this stage 2 major, like that would actually be, I think, really intriguing. It's just difficult because saying those words out loud, like Clayster and Challengers, I think everyone's like, Clayster's too good to play in Challengers. And I think that's probably where I sit as well. Like just saying that out loud, like if I have to cast literally Challengers Elite 3 and Clayster's in it, I will not be able to get my head mentally around that. Like that's unbelievable to think that could possibly be a thing. But I think you have to give it a go. I don't think you can pull a Wuskin or a Scraps where you just kind of say, well, I'm too good to play in Challengers, so I'm not going to play in Challengers, because then all of a sudden you just don't get picked up again for the rest of ever. That's at least the threat, right? So I think you have to give it a go if there is not an opportunity to be instantly put up into a CDL team after this change period. So I don't know. It's going to be really curious. I think the decision making of not just those top tier pros that we've seen over the last, ever, but even the ones that are going to be likely dropped off of this stage. Because as much as a trade is appealing, I think, to the community, I just don't know how logistically feasible it is. Because it's not just you're going a 1-for-1 and everyone gets better because of it. Like, you know, when we see things like that happen in traditional sports, there's always some sort of a purse behind it or draft picks or something behind it as well. Like, it's hard to really value, we'll just swap these two players and it'll be good. That's the one thing about the CDL compared to the CWL that has, I think, largely changed the identity of like what COD is competitively, because you don't just have these, oh, we're going to drop you, pick up this guy instead, like, you know, what kind of typically happened in the CWL days. So I don't know, it's curious.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see, and I think that it's just it makes for so much pressure for some of these teams, some of these players individually for this weekend. I think a lot lies on this tournament, and that's why I personally am so excited to watch it, because I just know when you get to this point in your career as an individual and even as a team, like when you're not seeing that success and those results, like, you know, in the back of your head, it's like you're playing for your life at this point. Like, your life is on the line. You must perform. You must do well. Like, you could literally potentially be dropped and put into challengers at this point of your career, or you could turn things around, turn heads, and literally show why you deserve a spot on the team. Like, I don't know. This is like make or break. So I don't know. I'm a huge fan of tournaments like this. And I think there's a lot of teams, even the 4 or 5 you listed and I listed, I think are going to be a fun people to watch this weekend. But unless do you have anything else you want to kind of touch on there? I'm excited, man. I can't wait.
I want to touch a little bit on Thieves because obviously they're on the 0-5 through the stage. Everyone's looking at them as like, okay, what happened? You were top 4, now you're bottom 4. I still think that this team experiments, especially if Draza has a good LAN. I think this team experiments with a role swap before a roster swap. I don't know. There's just something about the identity of this team that I think it can work. Well, we have seen it. It can work. I just think right now, with Draza not necessarily being super, you know, to the level that we expect him to be at when it comes to performance-wise, I think experimenting with a role swap would probably happen first before there was a roster swap. Like, this is a team that I feel like would experiment in that month off, and then if they get smoked again in the Pro-Am, then they make a change.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my mind is around Thieves.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it was just like, I don't understand why they didn't try it sooner, I guess. Whenever you see, like, I get the Optic 5-5 loss, but then when, like, the losses continued and the struggles continue, I'm just really worried about them, to be honest, because I feel like, I was talking about this yesterday. We did a P1 podcast with LAG, and it was me, Apathy, and Doug, and we brought up the Thieves, and we were playing general manager, and Doug said he would keep this roster the exact same. They would just change the roles, like you said. But I brought up the point of, and I've seen this plenty of times, it's like they're not really struggling in respawn like crazy, and like situational S&D plays is where we've seen these guys, like some of the clutches I've seen them lose. Sure. Like, speaking of accuracy, and when we had Sam Phoenix on last week, we talked about some of the 1v3s. It's like, that really worries me, because from a player's perspective, seeing a team struggle in search and destroy is not good, because it's not an easy fix. When you scrim every single day and play, right, what are you playing? You're playing hard point and control all day long. That's literally what you play. You book back-to-back scrims versus 2 teams. You play to 4 hard points. You play to 2 controls. You move on. You play another team, and you move on. Search and destroy, you can only get specific reps versus teams you schedule on. It's very rare that you play it a lot during the week. It's not taken that serious, and most of the time the rounds end pretty quickly because people are running around. There's nothing on the line. The problem that worries me is when you're in a tournament, it's a clutch moment. There's situational plays that go down, and like, that's stuff that no coach can change. That's stuff that literally nothing changes. It's just specific, like, in the moment plays. You know what I mean? And that's where we're seeing them struggle. So I don't know. I don't think like that is something that would obviously change with a role swap. So I'm curious to see how they perform this weekend. Just even speaking of them, they're going to be playing the loser of FaZe in New York, and I don't know how you want to do that too. If you want to talk about, we're going to obviously talk about the winners matches, but the potential losers matches, if we talk about that, I guess it would be tomorrow too. But they're going to have a rough round 1, man. They're either going to play a really good looking FaZe or a New York team that would potentially fall down to play them, which I think is more than likely going to happen. And it's going to be, probably. I mean, they've looked good. So I don't know. We can talk about that as the time comes. I guess we could break down some of that whenever we talk about the specific matches. But yeah, a lot of eyes on Thieves this weekend. It's gonna be interesting to say the least to watch, on my opinion.
You brought up something there that kind of triggered another thought process, and this is kind of off the cuff. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation around, JCap.
Yep.
I personally am a fan.
Yep.
But what are your thoughts about Parasite as a coach? Because that's been kind of a hot button topic for some people, saying that like, oh, he wouldn't do well because of his reputation for when he was a player. What are your thoughts on Parasite potentially in a coaching role? Because I'll take the first step forward. I love the idea of it. I don't think there is really anybody else out there that understands how to mold young players, as we've seen from Parasite in his time playing through Challengers. All the teams that he's been successful on in Challengers have been integral, mostly off of at least one, usually two, brand new, just turned 18-year-old players, which I think is super impressive. He's kind of like, this is a weird comparison, go with me, chat. He's kind of like the Clay of Challengers, where he brings in these new people, schools them up, and they do really well.
I mean,
I don't know.
You know my take on this. I spoke about this a little bit, but I'm the biggest fan of past players or successful players becoming coaches. I think it is very important for longevity of a team. I think it's very important for seeing progress and actually like understanding what's going on to like a whole nother level. And I feel like as a player, you have hands-on experience with past coaches. You know what you want in a coach. Like, for instance, for me, like I've had like 3-4 different coaches across my day of competing. And it's like, there was always things that one of the coaches would be missing that I would be like, wow, if I were ever a coach, or if I were like, this is something I would want. I would want him to be like more specific in certain VODs or break down specific plays, different things like that. So I think, yeah, Parasite, he would make a fantastic coach. I think he really would. He understands Call of Duty really well.
I think so too.
He's a world champion. He's won multiple different won in multiple different titles. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm a big fan of past players being coaches, especially ones that understand Call of Duty to a level that he does. I think it would definitely help.
I was just curious on what your take on it was, because I know there's been a lot of conversation around it lately.
I think that's something we will start to see even as the league potentially expands, and as kind of this, you've seen a lot of players step down recently. I think these coaching roles may flop to a lot of past players. We saw Looney retire this last year, became a coach, got a spot right away. I think the more some of these top dog, bigger name players step down, you'll see a lot of them taking some of the coaching roles, because I think it's rightfully so and it's well deserving. So I'm interested. That brings up an interesting thought in my head too. So it'd be cool to see what happens over time. Definitely.
I was scared.
But let's transition things, unless you got anything else. Like I said, I think those are the 4 teams for me on the hot seat, and
yeah,
gonna be
I
a
think I'm kind
banger.
of in the same boat, largely speaking. I mean, I think there are going to be a lot of interesting moves. I think that's the easiest way of putting it. A lot of interesting moves after this this whole event kind of comes and goes, because I think we're going to see a lot of expectations met when it comes to teams that fall out early. And I think if the results are as convincing as I think we all think they may be, I think it's going to be a pretty easy call to start making some moves. I think that the scheduling of it all is just the most peculiar part, is that you have this month off, and then Pro-Am isn't until May 5th.
Yep.
So it's like, well, if you don't make, and if let's just say like we have 4 to 5 teams at least that we're thinking could make changes, there may be a rush to try to pick up that next guy. So the competition for the teams to pick up Challengers players is also going to be super high. So
I'll be honest, dude.
It's going to be a very interesting time.
I think some of these organizations, if I know how business works, I think they've already started knocking on some doors and Challengers. If I could bet, I would assume that they've already probably brought up the point that there's a potential change, and like, we're interested in you. Are you interested? And to touch on your point real quick before we switch over to the matches today, you talked about how it could be scary for Challengers teams to want to make changes now, like before the Pro-Am. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I think it's the best opportunity ever for some of these players to now take a spot in the Pro League, just because it's actually the best chance to set you up for success. So let's just use Texas Nation, for example. Let's say some of these teams make a 2-player change, and maybe it's 2 players from Texas Nation. Say they go on to win the major, and 2 of the players get an opportunity to join a team. Whatever was working for them in Challengers, now they have a month to teach the struggling pro team, hey, this was the system we were doing. This was what working for us. Let's transition, let's mold what was working in Challengers and bring it to the Pro League. And maybe like that gives a good opportunity for them to actually experience it. Because realistically, We've seen COD in the last 2 months back to back to back to back to back. There's no breaks. Like if you were making a change, you had like a week to get some reps in with a player or a new roster. So I think now I want to say is if you're going to join the Pro League or have any indication or I don't know, an opportunity to do so as a challenger, this is the best time to do it, in my opinion. So
yeah, it's just I think I agree with you, by the way. I just, if that were to happen, which it likely would, then all of a sudden it's just like, now what do we do about the 4 teams that play the Pro-Am? Like, it's going to make challengers look really soft to the people that aren't really paying super attention to that.
Yeah.
If you are picking up players from the top 4 teams, which let's just figure that in those top 4, at least 2 of them will be North American.
Yep.
So that's likely where your pickups will be, unless it's Rocker Academy and Minnesota make a change with their academy team. That's the only other situation where that would unfold. It's just I'm really at a crossroads right here mentally, because it's like, great, love that. This is the whole point. We want these challengers players to get picked up, and that's been super successful over the last 2 years since challengers has been established as a thing. However, what do we do about the Pro-Am then?
Yeah.
Like, do we just let's just say Texas Nation wins or finishes top 4. They get to Pro-Am, and 2 of their players get picked up. Do the other 2 get to keep their spot and then have to fill with 2 new players? Like, it's, man, I don't know. I think the scheduling of all of this makes it really, I gotta choose my words carefully. It makes it really difficult to get kind of a win-win, where the challengers players are getting rewarded for doing well in challengers. They get a chance as a full team to play up against pro teams, and then they also have enough space in this kind of off-season period to where they can get picked up, get some reps with their team, and then they feel good going into stage 3.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
Definitely
the last thing
is.
you want is to have 4. You don't want to have the Pro-Am come out and all 4 teams got picked apart, and then none of them do well against the CDL teams. Like, none of them make it out of groups, and then it's like, well, why are we running the Pro-Am then?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's just, longevity wise, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah, it sucks that it's even that way, right? Because it's like, realistically, the reason you're in challengers is working to get back into the Pro League, but then the Pro-Am adds like a whole new fun twist onto it. It's like, oh, we get to show why we deserve to be in the league, but it's like, this is a month off where this is the best opportunity to join a Pro League team where teams will actually make changes. So it's like a win.
It's weird.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to say the least to see how it unfolds. But I think if you're a CDL fan, you're going to see more changes than ever after this Major 2. I think, seriously, there's like 4 teams minimum that will be making changes depending on how they perform this weekend. And you'll see a lot of either challengers players come up, or we're finally going to see some CDL trades go, some blockbuster trades go sideways, and see if they actually end up working and paying off. I can't wait. Like I said, I have a high hope for this weekend. I can't wait for the Major to get started, and I'm ready to talk about these matches today. Alan, let's go, baby.
Let's get it.
Let's kind of transfer things over to like I said, the matches for today. The first match that we're gonna have going on today is at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. We got Florida Mutineers going up against the London Royal Ravens, and I don't know. We haven't talked about this one too much together outside of what we're going to be having this conversation now. But I'm honestly excited for this match. I think it's going to be a banger. But I will say, on the side of Florida, I feel like these teams have kind of started to buy into what we've been talking about a lot. And it's like, just get rid of bow cage hardpoint wise, and let's see what you guys can do on the maps outside of that, right? I don't know, man. It's going to be weird.
This is why when you were asking the question of like which teams need to be considered, even though Florida has had a couple of good results, the fact that they only still feel comfortable on like 2 maps, like one hardpoint map and one search and destroy map, or really it's not even one search, it's one control map, and even the results there have not been convincing. You cannot, like, the thing that we have to think about, and again, I always challenge the community at large to always remember that it's not just what makes you better right now, but can you win a championship? Because that's got to be the goal. You have to be able to win a major, be in a position to finish in a high seeding for playoffs. And this Florida team does not have the ability of doing either of those 2 things when you only play one hardpoint map and one control map. And it's not to all that much success. So this, I would say, as far as an opening match is concerned, it's tough prospects because you're going up against a London team that looks damn good, like everywhere, mind you. Like, they've got one hard veto on Bacage, which immediately again puts Florida in a bit of a bind, and then after that it's like, you know, they're still a super solid control team on both maps, I don't know. This is a difficult series to find a kind of a pathway to victory for Florida in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think on the bright side though, for Florida, I feel like this is a solid round one matchup. Like you don't want to play FaZe, you don't want to play Optic. We've seen the struggles there continue. This is a winnable match for them, but I don't know if they're going to be able to. I think out of the first round matchups, I think it's. I mean, them or Boston. I'd rather play them than FaZe or Optic. Like if you're a Florida, if you're out of Florida, you're definitely happier than matching up against the two top dog like S tier teams right now. So I feel like you have to have like some confidence if you're Florida. Yeah, you're probably playing the arguably third best team in the game right now, but I think it's
better than playing the top two.
Yeah, I mean realistically, like I don't know if I'm on Florida, I'm like, hey, this is a winnable series, right? Like this is something we can take down, and then London's probably just like sitting there like we're ready for the match. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I think it could be competitive. I will say this is something I've always stated and will firmly believe for as long as I live. I think day one, round one, match one matchups are always kind of sketchy, if that makes sense. Like, just because players have had no reps, right? Like, other than scrims in the back, it's the first match on the LAN. You kind of have a little bit of jitters, maybe, and that goes for all the players sitting up there on the stage. And just random craziness can happen in the first match, I think, of the weekend. And I think majority of the time, the better team will handle business and get the job done. But I think we could see this series go the stretch just from that fact alone. Or on the other side, on the flip side, you could just see London handle business pretty easily, and you see a flop out Florida.
That's kind of where I'm leaning. It's just stylistically and by potential map choices, this is not a matchup that I feel good about if you're Florida, just because you're not getting Bacage.
Yeah.
And we've seen literally nothing else from you, really, in Hardpoint. Even on Bacage, we barely see anything from them. So I actually don't feel good at all about Florida's chances in this matchup, just due to the fact that, yeah, you're playing currently the number 3 team in the game, which is better than playing Texas. But I think stylistically, this is probably one of the worst matchups that they could possibly have.
Okay.
So I feel very on edge about Florida here. And I think, and I saw someone in chat post this, and I actually hard agree with this. It's just difficult to look at a player like Vivid, who I think is a really special player, and find a route for him to work with someone like Skies as the other SMG. Like, it's just, man, I would love to see Vivid with an actual super dedicated, like another main SMG. I think Skies is doing fine, but I think that the play styles for Florida are just so mismatched, and it leans more towards being statuesque and slow than where you would normally want to see Vivid play at. So I don't know. I don't feel great about Florida's chances in this one personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm right there with you. I think it will be competitive, but I'm on the London train right now. I think these guys have looked so good ever since they got Gizmo back. We kind of talked about it, that they were going to struggle early on in their first matches, like whenever he just got back in the mix after Paul was out. But ever since then, they've looked solid. They kind of look right back in form with where they were. And I think the biggest thing for me and what I love is that it's just like these guys are just like fluent, and I love how new they are to the scene, and like people don't really know a lot about them. And I'm such a big fan of that. Like this Nasty and Gizmo, both of them, like, they don't know anyone in the NA, and I just always remember from what Gizmo, I think he said it in an interview, he was like, they don't know us, we don't know them, we just play our game, like we don't care. And like I'm such a big fan of that, because it's like they don't care who is the top dogs in NA, they don't care who the good players are, what they do. It's like we are us, and we're gonna show that. And like I don't know, I've just always been a fan of that, and I'm such a big fan of Trey Zero and kind of like his story with everything, getting back into the league, obviously after playing through challengers. I think these guys have continued to look really good. We've talked about their Gavutu control. It's unreal. And I think the map set, again, I think it's going to struggle for Florida. Outside of the Bocage, unless practice has been going crazy for them and they've kind of worked on some new things, I think London just has them beat in a in-depth map set. I think that they're going to find some struggles early on in this series. I don't know.
I agree.
It's going to... the only thing, like I said, that I have going for it is that it's just the first matchup, and like anything can happen as far as that goes. Like it's the first match on land. Practice may have been going good for Florida. They come out hot, take an early map, and extend the series a little bit further. I mean, think about what we saw last major. London played LAG round 1. It went all the way map 5.
Yeah,
and Hugh and Slasher were having some of the craziest clutch up mistakes on the side of London that we ever saw. And like you could have potentially saw London get round, like first rounded in the winners bracket and drop straight to losers. So I don't know. Like I said, I think anything can happen. London looked shaky in the last major in their first match, and I could easily see it happening again here. But I do think London will end up handling business.
Yeah, I am not nervous at all about London in this matchup. I think when it comes to the ability of Florida potentially to take a map, I think it's there, but to take the series, it's tough to find the pathway for how would Florida possibly do that when they only play hardpoint Bocage, which is not going to be the mix. So we have to see 2 new hardpoints from this team, and apparently like their voodoo magic map is Berlin. No one wants to play Berlin versus Florida, but we still haven't seen it yet. Like we still haven't seen them play it a single time, so it's really hard to sit there and say that that's going to necessarily be the case. I mean, it would be. Let's be honest. If there were to be a series where we're finally going to see Florida on what is quote unquote their best scrim map, it'll be this series because London has no problem playing Berlin. So I don't know. It would have to be that plus some extra special sauce on a control and probably the 2 and the 5. They would have to win this in 5 probably.
Oh, definitely. I think if Florida were to win the series, it would have to go map 5. I don't see them taking out London in like a 3-0, 3-1 fashion. I'm curious to see like what route Florida does go with the vetoes though, as far as like hardpoint goes, because we know, like you said, Bocage is going to be out. London's going to get rid of that. But does Florida keep playing Gavutu? Like they haven't done well on it, like at all. Like they haven't found success on it. And then you said some crazy stat the other week about how outside of Bocage hardpoint, their hardpoint record was abysmal. It was really bad. I forget exactly what it was, but
1 and 5.
Yeah,
they've played 6 other maps that have not been Bocage, and they've only won 1 of them on Tuscan, and they haven't even come close to beating a team on Gavutu yet, which is so surprising for a team that boasts 3 ARs. You know what I mean?
I don't understand that. I feel like that should be like their bread and butter. I guess the only flip side is like they get punished for not like that map can be like a 60 map and teams change. Or chain hills. I guess that's the only thing on that side of things. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what they go with the vetoes. I think it would be interesting to see what they decide to square up on. If they continue to play Gavutu, I'd be sitting there with question marks over my head, to be honest, because I feel like they've gotten smoked on it the last few times they've played like good teams, and London is a good Gavutu team. So that's going to be interesting. And then as far as control goes, I don't know. I feel like London has the edge in this mode as well.
Me too.
So I don't know. I'm ready to kind of swing things over to predictions, though. I know where I'm going with this, and I think I know where you're going to end up going with this. It's going to be I think it'll be a competitive series. I don't think it'll be a blowout by any means. I think some of the maps will be pretty close, but I'm ready to swing it over if you are.
By the way, after Sunday, we're dead tied.
Oh, okay.
Dead tied at 35 points. So again, we haven't really actually hit on this prediction-wise when we do these predictions. It's 1 point for predicting the correct winner. It's 3 points for picking the correct winner and map count. So we're both tied at 35.
Because we got good minds right now, Alan. That's why we're smart. We're smart men, so we just go back and forth. It's a battle.
There.
Yep.
I'm obviously taking London, but I'm taking these guys to blow the roof off this series. I got this 3-0, no problem.
Okay, I like it. I'm gonna go London as well here, but I got London winning 3-1. I think they handle business. I'm giving Florida the benefit of the doubt that they're gonna get a map. Like I said, I think the biggest thing for me is that it's the first series of the day. And I know how it can be kind of a little bit shaky sometimes. So I think overall, though, London's a better team. These guys are in form. Afro has been disgusting. Guys looking like a top 5 SMG without a doubt. So can't wait to see what they can do. I got London taking this series pretty much easily, honestly. I think they're by far the better team, and they're going to continue to show why they're in that argument for top 3 right now.
Yeah, no, I would love to see, like, as much as I'm a big London stan right now, shout out to EU challengers. I would love to see this Florida team work out their pacing problems because I think they can be very dangerous. The problem is it's just hard to get a full read on where the issues lie because we only watched them play Bocage. So it's like, well, clearly their tempo problems are very evident on a map like Bocage, but I would love to see them be able to play more Tuscan, and especially I just want to see them play Berlin. I would say Berlin is probably like the most rudimentary map when it comes to how you're rotating between hard points right now. I think it's stylistically the most fluid map that there is compared to like traditional hard points. So I don't know. I want to see them play it, and I think we will see them play it versus London in this series. So we'll see.
I like it. And I just want this to be clipped and shipped straight to Reddit. I'm calling it now. Cold Havoc is going to be on the starting roster of Florida Mutineers after this weekend. I'm calling it.
Even ahead of Yeez?
I'm
Yeez is still on the bench there, bro.
I know how it works. I know how the business things go.
Man.
Cold Havoc's back in the mix.
This and chip this.
They've
I got Yeez starting this roster. Give my boy Yeez a chance, man. He's disgusting.
I think he deserves it.
Together would be nuts, bro. They would be nuts together.
I agree. I just think on the business side of things, he's got a lot of Kim with Skies and Awakening. It's like a Modern Warfare type engine. They had 3 chips in that game. He's a #1 in challengers right now as a team. Like, I don't know. Just saying, I could see it. I could see it. Guys, go back to the AR Awakening Flex and put in a sub user Havoc. I don't know. We'll see though. Who cares? That's just my hot take. I'm just trolling, guys. I don't really care. Just making some lulz out there. But let's transition things to the next match of the day. Good luck to Florida and London. I hope they have a banger series to start off the major for everyone watching at home. It'll be a fun match to watch. So anyways, let's go to match 2 of the day. We got Los Angeles Guerrillas going up against the Boston Breach. This one's going to be really good. I really wish, I just want to go out and say, Pierce, if you're watching this, if you see any of this, I hope you're feeling better, man. I'm sorry you can't compete. Yeah, I know how much as a competitor, it's definitely killing you, bro, because he loves Call of Duty more than anyone I know. So he definitely wants to be out there, and he must be in a serious amount of pain for him to not be playing Call of Duty. So hope he has a speedy recovery and can figure all of that out. But I will say I'm a little sad. I think we had been giving LAG a hard time as far as like if they were going to be successful and figure it out. But I think LAG was looking so good, and then they have like the Spark situation happen where he has to come fill in for Optic, last second, and then we saw the frustrations from the players. I'm not sure if you saw the tweets, Alan, but like Slasher feels like
I did.
He's been put in a bad situation. I will say he's gotten the short end of the stick a few times, unfortunately. I do feel for all of the guys on LAG, because it's like you work so hard every single day. Like, this is your job. This is your livelihood. This is everything. Like, you play 8 hours plus a day to get chemistry with your team. You're finally starting to see success. And then one of your players is sick and can't compete at the event. It's like, yeah, it's tough. Your chances of winning, like you still have high hopes, but like they go down a lot. Like, realistically, like you got to relearn everything. You're putting, I will say, to bring up some positivity, they're getting a Spart. He's a flex player. It fits. It makes sense. Spart is a great player. It makes sense role-wise. Like, it does fit. It's not like we're adding a sub into an AR type thing. And Pierce gave them plenty of time to allow them to get some practice in under their belt with Spart before the major. So I'm a big fan of that. I like that on the LAG side of things.
Me too. And just for what it's worth, for those that are kind of wondering how Sparta's done in challengers, he's been uber consistent, save like 2 tournaments. It was like Cup 5, Cup 7 to his 2 top 16s, but everything else has been at least top 8, if not top 3. So Spart has been just as good as you would expect. It's not as nearly as dominant from when they were the NYSL Academy team last year, but he's still been super, super consistent. Big Spart fan. I think that obviously, as you mentioned, the roles are 1-for-1, and I do think that he can provide a gunless-esque presence on the map when it comes to the speed that you would assume from Pierce. So I don't think stylistically this changes LAG as much. It just comes down to getting familiar and getting comfortable with it, and just to kind of, again, just piggyback and re-hit what you had said. They've got the ability now with the last week and a half to really get Spart into the mix and see what that chemistry looks like. So as much as it hurts LAG, I think overall stock-wise for this event, they've got an upper bracket starter. I think they could still make moves with Spart in this roster. So I'm pumped about them.
I am as well. And to talk a little bit about Boston Breach, these guys have looked great, man. They've looked incredible. I'm honestly super impressed. We've talked about them a lot, and I kind of had, I don't know, a mixed emotions or mixed feelings about this team. I wasn't sure at the start of the year if they're going to be able to perform. The biggest thing for me was like, how are these rookies going to do? Yeah. We all never knew Capsule until Kickoff Classic, and then people were like, okay, this kid's the real deal. And to shout out to these guys have looked great. They went 4-1 through the online stage qualifiers. Their only loss being to the London Royal Ravens, but apparently Nero Poison was throwing up and very sick the entirety of the day. So hope he is feeling better and at 100% for this weekend. But Boston's looked great, man. Like, we've seen constant improvements from this team. Feels like they've ironed out their map pool. They have a good understanding of what they want to play and what they want to do on the map. We've seen a lot more consistency over this stage of qualifiers from Nero Poison, which has been my X factor for this team. And he's said it in lots of interviews that he has been working on his game, figuring out things to slow down and create more consistency. So shout out to him. And then Capsule's been Cap. Like I feel like he gets all the praise and gas on this team. And then, I mean, Methods, man, the guy's been frying. He's trying to show why he's like a top 3, top 4 AR in the game right now. I don't know where this came from. No joke. This is giving me like World War II vibes because like Methods, like he's one of my best friends, but I'm a realist when I talk COD, and like he's been so unbelievably like he's been good, but I would say he's just like been average, right? Like he hasn't like gotten smoked in the last few years or done anything crazy. But like this year, I don't understand how this guy dropping a 1.7 like multiple series. I'm just sitting there like, are these guys shooting back? He's having maps where he's dropping a nuke going 25 and like 6, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Real.
I love seeing it. It's honestly so impressive. The bounce back has been huge from him. He obviously gets benched last year on Toronto. Toronto becomes the best team in the game, and it's just not a good look at that point. But then like for him to come in, get the Winnie Cat buff, and I don't know, just start riding. Like I don't know, it's impressive, man. And even Tej, like Tej has been playing great. These guys look amazing. I can't wait to watch them play this weekend.
I mean, it's got to be like the 3 best weeks of Method's career this qualifying stage. Like if Boston comes out and finishes top 4, which I think is doable, spoilers, that could be like, this could be the best like month and a half of like Method's career, like flat out. Like that would be an unbelievable story. I'm here for it. I'm here for the comeback stories. You know, obviously the situation with Toronto last year was unfortunate, but I think it made sense for what Toronto wanted and what they needed. But boy, I'll tell you, if this Boston Breach team just doesn't have it locked in right now, man, they're looking super scary. And I'm pumped about their potential, not just in this matchup, but for the tournament overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the biggest thing for me is like these guys look good across the board. Like realistically, this entirety of the year, like their search woes were probably the biggest thing. Like at the start, it was like, okay, can these guys figure it out? And for me, I was like, this team is gonna be good at search. Like you got Capsule came from S&D. All he does is play S&D chows. TJ, everyone talks about him. Like his teams have never really struggled too much in search. So it's impressive to see kind of them be so solid across the board. I guess the biggest thing will Control continue to be kind of like the woe. But ever since the tick change, they've looked a lot better in the mode, I feel like. And I think they've kind of switched up who's running an AR and Kavutu, which has continued to help them. So I don't know. As far as maps go, I'm genuinely curious to see if we see LAG switch up. Like you're almost, when you go into vetoes, like Boston doesn't really have like a hard set veto.
Go-to veto.
So
no, that's correct.
That's the plus there. But on the side of LAG, it's like, do we see them get mixier on some of these maps? Like, do we potentially see a bow cage here? Do we potentially see them play a map they're not as comfortable on because of the addition to Spart? Like, Spart does bring more speed, I would say. Like, I think Gunless is an amazing Call of Duty player, but I think Spart plays a more aggressive role than Pierce. I think that's fair to say. And, like, I don't know. You don't know what the scrims have looked like. You know what I mean? In the last 4 or 5 days, what do they feel comfortable? Sure. What have they won? I know LAG has a big staffing as far as coaching and, like a stats person. So I know they've probably taken stats of what they've won. I'm curious to know what the vetoes will end up being. It's hard to say with a fill-in player.
I still think, and we have to go back to like what Bance was, I think, was saying when we had him on the show, where he was talking about this LAG team, and it's like, look, like Asim and Huke they want to get in your face. They want to play fast. And if they can get to that point, then LAG becomes very dangerous in hard point. So as much as I think Bacage is in the mix, that can be, I think, just as far as the familiarity and kind of the subconsciousness that a team is going to have coordination wise is going to be where the struggles would be for someone like Spart. Not saying that he's going to be bad on the map, but I think just getting into the system and already knowing what's going to happen next for your other teammates before even having to call it could be difficult. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to stick back over to Tuscan, though, even with the change, just because you can, if Spart does get a little bit, I won't say lost, not the right word, but if he feels like he is unsure, like not 100% solid on where the SMGs are going to run, he can at least post up and watch a lane on a map like that. So I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to predict the maps for this series because, yeah, you're right. There is no real hard vetoes for either of these two teams. I think it just comes down to stylistically, what do they want to play? I wouldn't be surprised if Boston would want to take LAG to Gavudu, but I don't know if LAG will let them. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if LAG veto out Gavudu. and we get some sort of a combination of the other 3 maps, obviously, where you've got Tuscan, Berlin, and Bacage still in the mix. So I don't know. This is going to be really curious as far as the maps are concerned.
I completely agree, and I want to point out too, it's going to be interesting to watch Spart back. This is like his first CDL debut again since being on LAG previously. There's going to be a lot of eyes on him. This could be like a make or break it moment for him. Like this could potentially, if he frags out and fries here, like he could potentially get himself a spot in the league just off of simply talent, whether it's maybe on the LAG team, whether it's maybe now teams are interested in him depending on how he plays this week. And this could be similar to the Paul X situation, I think, with what we saw him kind of go into London, coming in fry, do his thing, and now he's in a spot where he's in the league now. So I can't wait to watch it. I will say I hope LAG plays a lot less or a lot more loose this weekend. I feel like they have no pressure. They should kind of take a lot of risks and play just real loose. I think it ends up paying off whenever you're a pickup team. Like, you got nothing to lose. Everyone thinks you're going to lose because you have a fill-in. It's like, go out there and win. Just play, have fun. Go out there and do your thing and see what they can do. But I don't know. I kind of know where I'm going with this one, Alan. I have a good
yeah, me too.
Side of things. I think like I've kind of talked on it as much as I can with LAG. They've looked great. Now they have a fill-in. Boston, they've looked really good. The only team they lost to this stage was London, and I don't care if they play lesser teams. Wins are wins in this league, and they're hard to get no matter what. I'm ready for predictions if you are, man. I'm ready.
I'm ready for predictions. You seem like you're uber ready, so I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
I know exactly how this series is gonna unfold, Alan.
Chomping at the bit.
I got it. I'm going Boston 3-2. I think LAG is gonna be playing loose enough to extend the series all the way to 5. I think that unfortunately, since they are with a fill-in and some things are going to be new, I think they're going to lose multiple search and destroys in this series. I got Boston taking one of the hard points and winning both search and destroys. It goes to 5. I think it's going to be a very competitive series back and forth, but LAG will fall just short, and Boston is the better team right now. But this is a potential for an upset too, I would say. You could see LAG pulling away this series, so I'm curious to see what you got to say about it.
I think this is one of those series, and this is such like a softball comment. I hate saying these things out loud, like as a professional commentator. It's just whoever comes out hot could make this series either very interesting or very uninteresting. Like if LAG were to really find some favor in the opening map and steal away map 1, this one could go the distance, if not maybe an LAG tally. However, I love the idea of a map spread here for Boston due to the fact that I think they could 3-0, but I'm going to give LAG the credit of coming out and being able to find at least one map somewhere. I'm going to go 3-1 Boston.
I like it. We're even across the board. Just map counts are a little bit different. Maybe someone will
a little bit,
pull away. I think both these matches, like maybe not so much the first one, but this one could seriously go either way. Like we don't know what we're going to see. If we get rid of a Bocage, some of these maps could be kind of crazy competitive. I think we're going to see a big series too out of Slasher. I think even just a small thing in Spart playing more aggressive, I think it's going to allow Slasher to kind of sit back as that main AR. He's got a little bit more like bait on the map, I guess you would say. So I think he's going to have a phenomenal series. And I know the rookies like to play super fast. If you see them playing on some of these bigger maps, I feel like Slasher plays well. So can't wait for this one. This is going to be one of the better matchups of the day. But I got Boston Breach taking it. That'll transfer us into our third match of the day. We got Atlanta FaZe, baby, going up against the New York Subliners. And I don't know, there's been a lot of talk, Alan, as far we've said it, like in New York, right? Like they've been getting a lot of gas lately. They had a really slow start to the season. The hardpoint woes were in. Now they haven't lost a hardpoint. We were hard on Neptune. We were hard on Neptune. Neptune has looked great. They bring in Paul. Paul's undefeated in the league so far. I saw the CDL made a tweet about it. He's 5-0 in the league right now. So impressive stuff out of him between 2 different rosters. But I will say this right now. They haven't been tested, and I still fully stand still to that.
That's it.
They beat Paris Legion. They beat Minnesota Rocker, and they beat Toronto Ultra. Toronto Ultra has continued to struggle. They're 2-15 outside of their last 17 hardpoints, and Minnesota Rocker hasn't looked good since they made the role change. Outside of the reverse sweep versus Thieves, which went 0-5 in the league. So I don't know. I don't think New York has, like I said, fully been tested. I don't think they faced a lick of adversity. And I think that they have their work cut out for them in this series. This is going to be, to me, the true test to see what these guys are really made of. Like, we're going to see if Neptune and Hydra can continue to drop 1.5 or 1.2s in series. and continue to dominate versus the best, or some of the two best submachine guns in the game.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm gonna go right out and say, before I talk too much about FaZe, I don't think this series is gonna be competitive. I really don't. I think this is a point, and I'll eat my words if I have to, if New York come out and surprise me. But I really think this is a series where FaZe just handles business and says, look, we are way better than you guys. You guys have not been tested at all, and I think they really do just handle business quickly.
Yeah, the problem here, and again, credit for New York to come out and go 0-13 in hard points and then win 6 in a row. However, 5 of those hard point wins have been on Berlin, which is Atlanta's hard veto, and Bacage, where you don't want to play Atlanta. So you're going to have to beat Atlanta on Gavudu and or Tuscan to have a chance in the series. I don't love their chances on either of those 2 maps. So it's a difficult pretense when it comes to finding a pathway for New York to win this series, if maybe even win a map. So I agree with you. I'm not super high on New York's ability to win this matchup. The good news is you got to the upper bracket to start. That's your big win. Try to make a lower bracket run, because you're not going to find a win here.
Yeah, I see someone in chat too saying FaZe hasn't even looked great. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I feel like FaZes look good. They are a team that sits way above all these other teams as far as like in the standings, and even just like on a tier list. I think these guys continuously, whether it's a close series or not, these guys always handle business versus the middle of the pack or top echelon teams. Like they never, maybe close, maybe they struggle a little bit, but you never find them just bombing out of series, getting smoked by teams that they shouldn't lose to. And that's why I just have them so much higher than this New York team. Like I think New York has made a lot of improvements. I think they've looked way better, like drastically better, since they made this change. And it's unfortunate that Clayster is on the bench, because I think that, in my opinion, I think it would be pretty similar if Clay was in for Crim. I think the results would be pretty similar. So I don't know. I like I said, I firmly believe that they haven't been tested. They haven't played a top 3 team yet in the league. And I think this is going to be a very hard series to play against FaZe. And I think something too, it's like this just comes down to me, it's like a map pool thing, like you said. Like you're going to square up against FaZe on Bocage. Okay, great. The FaZe is really, really good at the map, arguably the best team in the game at it. And if you don't want to play Bocage, then you play at Berlin against them. And like you said, they're nasty at the map. I think this is just going to come down to who's got more Team Kim and can get the job done. I don't know. I don't even need to talk about the series too much, in my opinion. I know exactly where I'm going with it.
We could falsify things and try to, bleed some hope into this, but I don't think it's that would do this justice, because I think this series is going to be pretty quick.
All right, well, let's just go ahead and get right into predictions. Then I feel like we've kind of hit it on both of these teams. I know which way I'm going with it, and I think I know which way you're going with it. I'll give the benefit of the doubt to New York. I'm going to go a 3-1 FaZe here. I think that they could potentially take a map, and I think that honeymoon thing is real. I think they just have a lot to learn, and it's going to kind of show here in this series. I'm curious to see, though, how they will bounce back. I think if they were to bounce to losers and they finally face adversity and a tough loss here, what can they do in this whole entire tournament? Because I think they are really, I do think they're a lot better than most of the teams in the league right now. I will say that. And they've shown that, but I just think they'll fall short to FaZe.
Yeah, I've got this one. Congrats on upper bracket. We'll see you tomorrow. I got this 3-0 Atlanta.
I like it. Just handling business right out the woodworks. I like it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, dude, this day could be very short. If all of the expected teams come out, this could be a very short day of COD.
I will say, I hope that New York makes it competitive. I'd love to see a map 5. I'd love to see a New York win. I'm a huge fan of the reverse side of things, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Yeah. That's where I'm going with it. Let's transition things. Good luck to again, both of these teams playing today. It's going to be a banger match, and hopefully they'll provide that for us. The last match of the day will be Seattle Surge going up against Optic Texas. We saw this one multiple times this year. We've seen it a lot, and we will continue to see it. This went on at the Major 1. It was a first-round matchup, and now it's going to be the Major 2 first-round matchup. I can't lie, Alan. I had Seattle in Major 1, and they let me down. Big time.
I had them going top 4 easy in Major 1.
I just want to go out and say I've gassed these guys plenty of times, and I'll give a little spiel again. But Optic have just looked so good. Like these guys have yet to give me a reason to doubt them. Seriously, like
Same.
they're on a 14 win streak in control. They are on a 12 series winning streak. Outside of those 2 losses in Major 1 and the qualifiers, like I watched the process yesterday. By the way, one of the best videos. I'm sure chat, and I don't know if you've seen it. I definitely should give it a watch.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's really good. But I won't get into that. But anyways, outside of those 2 losses, they have looked so good. Like we talk about it time and time again. It's hard to like not give credit to a team that doesn't have like a weakness, right? Like they've looked good across the board in all modes. The control thing for me is just I'm sitting there like honestly mind blown. Like that in a series versus the really good teams is like it could be a swing mode. You're basically guaranteed to never get 3-0'd, so a reverse sweep's always possible because they're on a 14 win streak in control. And it's like their search and destroy looks sound. I was like not a hater, but I was questioning like if they would be able to make. I knew they'd be a top team in the beginning when they made this roster, but I was curious about like the leadership thing. We've seen Illy step up like crazy for this team with like comms and stuff. I don't know. These guys look unreal, dude.
Yeah, it's streaks on streaks on streaks everywhere you look for Optic. Just 12 maps in a row, 12 series in a row, a million control wins in a row. It's just it's tough, I think, for anybody to look at this Optic team and say, oh, we can beat them by going here. The other problem here for Seattle is they actually kind of prefer the same maps. So like when we saw them play earlier in the stage, like we got the Bacage, we got the Tuscan for the 2 hard points. We had a Bacage search, and then the controls. I mean, it doesn't matter where you play Optic on control. It's difficult predictions there. I don't know, man. I think this is going to be an improved Seattle team, but not this improved. I think when it comes to talking about the Surge overall, you're bouncing back. You're able to come off of the win versus the Thieves. Say about that what you will. You also had that Map 5 win versus Atlanta in the qualifiers. That was good news. Is there realistically a potential chance for Seattle to win this series, though? Man, it's tough to find the route of how you do that because you have to beat them on Bacage again, which I don't think you're going to be able to do this time around. I don't know. It's tough, I think, for Seattle to look at this series with the potential maps and find a pathway to victory. You just have to beat a Texas. Like, that's such an easy statement to say, but you just have to be better than them on the day, flat out. And we haven't really seen that from Seattle consistently, so it's hard to kind of buy into it.
Yeah, I mean, this would have to be something where they steal like a map 1 hard point. In my opinion, they win like both search and destroys. Like, and I think there is a potential chance of that happening. And I'll state that again, just from the fact that these S&D maps have changed. Like, I think that's like the plus here. If you're like an Optic fan, you assume that you have S&D grinders on your team. You got the whole Zeo squad. Like these guys have done their research, figured out the maps. They played tons of S&D chals and whatnot. But on the side of Seattle, it's like that's where you kind of get like a refresher. Like you have Equip who potentially could have went in, done some nerdy strats, gotten some good stuff down. You obviously had the Tuscan S&D spawns change, and then the Bocage bomb site change. So I don't know. That's a plus if you're on the side of Seattle. I think the only way that they would potentially win this series is all the way in 5. I'm curious to see if Optic goes out and just plays them on a map like that, like on Bocage, or if they just veto it. Like I don't know what route they go, because I feel like if I don't know. I could see Optic just going up and be like, yeah, we just lost it once to them. We're gonna just square up again. We'll beat them on land. Like I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what the vetoes go. But then if you get rid of Bocage, you kind of put the vetoes in Seattle's favor, and they get to kind of pick what maps they want to play. Or it's like, do they just square up on the map? You know what I mean? Get rid of like Tuscan and then play the other 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it would be different if Seattle's map pool was not very similar to Optic's. But even saying that, like out loud, like immediately my mind just goes towards, well, where would you want to play them? Even if your map pool was different, it's just, I don't know. I don't think you're going to get a really good chance to look at this Optic team's vulnerabilities based on what Seattle is good at versus what they're bad at. Like, I don't know. I can't. I'm out of words here, Jerry. I just don't think that this is one series that will be super tight. I think that you might get one good map out of Seattle, but I think Optic pretty much handles business here.
Yeah, I'm ready for predictions if you are. I think that Seattle I mean, they got their work cut out for them, right? They haven't looked the best. They've played the top dogs tight. That's what the plus, I guess you'll get to say. But I'm ready for the predictions, man. I know which route I'm going with this. I want to try and choose an upset and whatnot, but these guys have given me no reason to do so. So I'm going Optic 3-1. I'll give Seattle the benefit of the doubt. I think they will take a map early on in the series, but overall, man, I think, like I said, Optic has looked so good across the board. I think the Seattle Woes will continue, and that control win streak and series win streak has to be none other. And I still think that these guys will have semi-home crowd advantage all the way in Minnesota. So I think they're going to thrive off of that for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually taking the exact same thing.
Oh, I think Alan's gone again, chat. I think he just lagged out completely. Brian, you're here, yeah? Yep, there he goes. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Alan. Alan chose Seattle, chat, so he got booted offline, and now he's going to come back in my ear here in a second. I see the Optic fans hit him offline, but rest in peace to Alan. He should be back in a second. He'll say he didn't hear the entirety of the the content, but
he'll go on his spiel again.
Oh, yeah, he's going to go on a spiel, and he's going to be like, oh, you guys didn't hear anything. Back. Oh, there he is. Hey, Alan, what's up?
Yeah.
There he is.
My internet's been having these little bounce out on and offs. But yeah, I know I was saying the same thing. I've got Texas. I'll give them a map here. I've got a 3-1. Or Seattle. I'll give them a map rather, I should say. So we'll see. But I think this day it very well could be 4 3-0s. Like it very well could be the quickest opening day to a major that we've seen in a while. So,
yeah, as much as I want to gas up the matches, it's very much like, I don't know. I feel like it's a series where there's teams that should just almost guarantee the win based on how the qualifiers went. And I feel like on the side of that, it's like all the teams we picked, right? Like London has just looked really good. I think they'll continue to do so. Like I said, I think they're the 3rd best team in the game. You get Boston Breach, who looked incredible through the qualifiers. I think arguably they're the 4th best team in the game, playing a pickup team in LAG. Play a newly formed New York, who's playing Atlanta FaZe. And then, yeah, Optic, the best team in the game, playing Seattle. So I definitely agree with you. I think it'll be for a quick day of Call of Duty potentially, but I'm down if you have a little bit of time, you want to take a few chat questions and then kind of wrap up the show. So chat, if you guys have any questions, put them on in.
I'm going to throw this out there too. I was just kind of forming all of this. I don't know if you're interested in this at all, actually. But I've got the top 32 teams off of seeding for challengers put together. If there's anyone who's super interested in that, I'm gonna take a couple of screenshots and get that up onto Twitter. I don't know if you're interested to hear or talk more about challengers throughout the weekend here, Jerry, when it comes to like predicting who the top 4 teams would be at all. If you run out of topics, things like that, but I'll put that together.
Definitely down to talk challengers, especially tomorrow when it starts. We could definitely talk about it in the pre-show a little bit, since we'll have some challenger stuff to kind of stay tuned with and watch for the weekend. But I think it's going to be a fun weekend of COD, baby. If I want to go ahead and say
weekend, man.
Real quick, chat, if you guys are watching with us live, we appreciate you guys. We've been going up in numbers like crazy across all platforms, so thank you guys. If you guys are watching with us live on Twitch, make sure to follow. The stream will be live tomorrow for sure at 12 o'clock, and then Alan is questionable on if he'll be able to do it on the rest of the days, but we will see. So follow the stream, and if you guys are over on YouTube, you guys know, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. And go check out Alan on Twitter, and we'll take some of these chat questions. Alan, this is a good question for you right away. Who are the top 4 challengers players you're keeping your eyes on? Let me hear it.
Top 4 challengers players, man. That's difficult. I think it's just largely due to the fact that, like, you've got to put players into like respective roles. It's kind of like trying to determine like who is the current top 10 players in the CDL. Like, well, what are you looking for? ARs or SMGs? It's hard. I'm most excited to see how the individual parts of Stallions do on LAN. I think just due to the fact that they're a younger team, some of them no experience in challengers up until this most recent elite. I'm pumped to see how Johnny does. This is going to be his first major LAN event pretty much ever, from a multiplayer standpoint, outside of the search and destroy stuff that he's done in the past. So I'm pumped to see him. And then obviously the expectations around what we're getting out of Texas Nation are high, but like you have to be able to follow those up, right? Like you have to follow those up now that we're getting on the land. So I was those are the 3 teams that I'm most interested, I think, in seeing largely. And here's the oddball pick. Watch out for APAC. I just have a funny feeling that one of the 3 teams from APAC could potentially come out, upset somebody early, and maybe have an argument to work towards the top 4.
I like it.
Difficult path, but I'm pumped about the APAC boys.
I'm putting you on the hot seat real quick. Build a team in their respective roles. I want to know who you would put real quick. I know we've done this jokingly, but who do you think's the best AR on challengers, best flex, and then the best 2 submachine guns? Just real quick. Don't think about it too deeply. I'm just curious what comes to mind.
Havoc, Lucky, Denza, Adam Assault.
I like it. I like it. I'm a fan of it.
I don't know.
Let me see. I saw some other questions in here. Do you think after Loggy asked, do you think after this weekend does Minnesota drop 1 or 2 players? I spoke about this a little bit yesterday, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, Alan. If they were to bomb out of the major, which they do start in loser bracket, I have them in my pick'ems getting a 1-round win after Seattle were to lose to Optic. We'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow when that does occur. But I would assume that I've said this forever. Minnesota has to define their roles. That's step number 1 and whatever goes down with this team. But I would think that they would need to make a 2-player change. I do not think one person, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think you used it to your advantage that the players' stocks are still very high and you see some trade value. If not, you try and get some new challengers players and kind of rebuild a new structure on the roster. I don't think any of those players are bad by any means. They all deserve to be in the league, but it's just not working in this title.
No, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing about making moves is you kind of have to almost treat it as you're rebuilding the entire year. Like you have to essentially not just reform a team to try to get more success, but you kind of have to reset everything. And I think 1 player changes just do not typically provide that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that if you were to make moves here, I think you have to consider doing it with 2 players.
Like it. I like it. I like it. I don't know if you've seen any specific ones. I've seen a bunch of good questions, but
I saw one in the chat for a second. There was like, are any of the other majors planning on hosting challengers lands? Nothing's confirmed, but I do believe conversations have started for some of them. I can't really say too much because I don't know one way or the other, but I think that the intention initially when we saw kind of that leaked schedule, I forget who posted, I think like Zinx posted it. The intention at the beginning of the year looked like it was supposed to be a challengers event alongside every major, but with the concerns around COVID and I think just the space through Dallas, that there was just not enough logistical time to put together a challengers land for the opening major. But I think the intention at the beginning of the year was to hold challengers related events at every major this year.
My boy Keaton asks, who is outright the best player in the league? I know mine. I don't know who yours is. If you have one.
Best player in the league?
Yeah, in the CDL.
Yeah, I've got mine.
All right, 3, 2, 1, Dashy.
Dashy.
Yeah, spot on, baby. Spot on. Yep. That's what I thought. So
good.
I know. We're on fleek. No, I do think, though, he is the best player. Just to touch on that a little bit, I think he's by far the best player. I'm obviously usually a big fan of like submachine gun players. I think they have more of an impact and their role is a million times harder than ARs. But just the progression Dashy's made in his game is unreal. The guy's like finally the full form. He looks great across the board in all modes, and he's really playing that like fundamental role for this Optic team. So I don't know. He's by far the best for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that it's I mean, Celium is obviously in the conversation statistically wise, but I think just as far as like who's the best player, you have to go toward who's the best team right now.
Yep.
And with all of the streaks, like if it were tighter between Atlanta and Optic and like the overall statistics and things like that, or if like Atlanta were to have beat Optic a single time yet this year, then we could start, I think, inserting Celium to the conversation. But at the moment, with how dominant Optic has been, it's hard to step away from the most dominant player on the team in Dashy.
I agree. Go ahead and do your challenger spiel again. I've seen a lot of questions about how they can follow challengers. There's a lot more people in here that was at the beginning of the show. So go ahead and say all that again real quick.
There was some confusion off of the COD League post saying the stream is going to be live on Thursday. That's not the case. Challengers is happening at Minnesota. It's happening in location. The broadcast will be remote, and the broadcast does not start until Saturday. So there will be no coverage of the COD Challengers event until we get to winners quarterfinals. That's the intention if the schedule were to hold in the opening moments. The bracket, let me get the bracket back in chat one more time. It did get updated, by the way. So this is an actual bracket with correct seedings. So there's the bracket in chat for you guys if you want to follow along with it as the action unfolds. I'm also considering doing like a after the day is over kind of Twitter Spaces with some of the other challengers, content creators and coverage commentators to kind of just talk through like who's doing well, who's not doing well, just kind of looking at the bracket and kind of making assumptions since we're not going to have any live action of it, and then possibly also doing that Twitter Spaces live after the show wraps on both days, just to kind of give more conversation around the teams and the players. And then also, if you're curious on the rosters for some of these teams, I'll put together a roster sheet with all the seedings that I'll post onto Twitter here as well. So if you're curious on those things, we'll have them. And then, you know, as conversation starts to dig into the final moments, the top 32, top 16, you know, then we can start talking about a little bit more when it comes to predictions of like who the top 4 teams may be.
Definitely. Oh, I want to get your thoughts on this too, but I know as a player, I've seen this a few times. There's finally a trophy at the event, so that's cool.
Dude,
that's a W. That's a W. I know. I was, again, if you get the chance to watch the process from the Optic podcast video, I don't know what I'm saying. After they won, there was like no trophy, no celebration, no nothing. So I was like, it's definitely sweet to definitely have like a trophy presentation when a team wins. They rightfully deserve something to show what they did. So I'm a huge fan of that. So it'll be cool to, you missed the trophy lifts. I agree. Hopefully the crowd will be into it. The Minnesota fans will be going crazy. I'm excited for the matches, but I don't know if you have any other ones you wanted to hint at specifically. I think we talked about majority of the things today. We had good conversations about challengers, good conversations about day one. The major is going to be nuts this weekend. I know you're excited. I'm excited for both sides of things. I'm so happy. I tweeted it yesterday. I tweeted something along the lines of it's just so exciting that like there's challengers LAN now, and now there's a CDL LAN. Like it's just coming back to me. It reminds me of the good old days of Call of Duty. So it makes me very happy for sure as a longtime Call of Duty guy who's competed and played for a long time. So can't wait for the weekend. I'm ready to wrap this up if you are. I think it was a really good show today. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Man. I think
it's good stuff all the way through. Yep. Make sure you have 2 tabs open when Challenger starts. I don't know. I should be promoting that tomorrow. But you know, until then, I'm pumped about it, man. It's gonna be sick. I'm super excited to see what these teams are going to offer us. Hopefully the games are tighter than we think they're going to be today. That's all I'll say.
I agree. Yeah, definitely make sure to go show Alan some love on his social media too, on his Twitter, guys. If you guys are watching with us live or watching this on YouTube, he'll be posting updates all the time about challengers. He's the caster over there, so go show him some love, show him some support. It's always good. Like he said, pull up 2 tabs, man. Even if you guys are not watching, or if you have 2 monitors, pull up both tabs, kind of go in between the matches or whatnot throughout the entirety of the weekend. Call of Duty's been doing great across the board. There's been lots of content out, lots of people making content, and the teams, they've even making content. So Call of Duty's lit right now, man. It's not the best of game for COD Vanguard, but let me tell you, we're doing a damn good job of making it pop in and keeping you guys interested and whatnot. So if you guys are watching with us live, again, we appreciate you guys. Again, the numbers have been going up every single weekend, so thank you guys for that. It's really cool to see. This was our 10th show today. We've been doing it for almost a month now, so it's been really cool. So thank you guys for the support. Again, if you were watching us with us live, follow the channel. We go live 2 hours before the CDL starts. Then if you guys are over there on YouTube watching with us, subscribe to the channel. I think we're coming up on 22,000 subs on YouTube, so that's super cool to see. So go show some love on that and comment down below if you guys would like to see specific guests come on or any questions for us that we can try and answer during the podcast. I think that'll kind of wrap things up. Go follow Alan. Like I said, check him out. He'll be live on the Challenger side of things, and go check out his Twitter talks. What's that called again? The Twitter Spaces.
We'll do some spaces, I think. That's the goal.
So go check him out. He's the absolute GOAT. I'm going to wrap this one up, though. Thank you, guys. It was a good episode of First Blood today. We'll be live tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And until the next one, we will catch you guys later. Peace.